on that. Uh,
I know.
and Vineet is also interested in technology. He's part of the he's done his masters in environment, so that also becomes an important part of it. And
Right.
right now he's heading the college. We are trying to
Okay.
establish
Yeah.
newer vision and newer practices in place.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Uh,
great.
Welcome, Daisaya sir. Nice to have you.
Hi, Vinit sir.
Hello.
It's great to be all with all the stalwarts of the industry.
So we are trying to get these stalwarts on our platform so that we become more aware and more knowledgeable.
It's a teamwork. It's a teamwork.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely,
Basically,
and that's what I
no
guess.
one is complete with each other.
True.
Yeah,
Absolutely, sir.
without
I
each
guess that
other.
is what we are trying to do, and with the Gauri sir's vision and Parikshit, who is painstakingly taking these efforts ahead, I guess that's what we are trying to
Yeah,
achieve. Trying to create
absolutely.
rather reduce the gap between the industry professionals and the academia as far as possible. And the
Right.
people from our college becomes better professionals, accepted professionals for that matter.
So,
That's nice.
Parikshit, I think it's 3 o'clock. We should start, my friend.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
Parikshit.
yeah,
Yes, yes.
Oh, we should
yeah.
also welcome Anuja, the spine behind this whole thing. She's also here.
The backbone.
The backbone, the strength.
Anuja is here. Yeah.
Yeah. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yeah. Okay. So, uh, good afternoon, everyone. I think yeah, as Gauri
Yeah.
sir said, almost good evening ho gaya. But yeah, so I would like to introduce you to uh, our speaker today, Mr. Manoj Daisaria. He's an architect by profession, and he's principal architect of Daisaria Associates from 1982, and he has vast experience in this field around 40 years, and almost around 40 years, and done prominent project including several high-rise buildings with reputed builders and developers and corporates around Mumbai and Thane, Goa, Ahmedabad, and Lonavala. He was appointed as a project management consultant in category A by Authority, and he was president of PIETA of India sector in year 2007 to 2009, and still an active member as a of PIETA. He was visiting faculty and member of governing council of Rachana Samsad Academy of Architecture, Mumbai, and I'll not waste some more time, and I'll ask him to start his presentation. Thank you, Manoj sir,
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
here.
Thank you, Parikshit. First of all, I would like to thank Gauri sir, Vinit sir, Girish Dravidji. I don't know whether he is attending. Anuja also, because she was instrumental in getting me, because she phoned me. I readily agreed. Yes, we will definitely take part. We are working on so many other projects also with Anuja. So it's great working with her and all the faculty members. It's a great initiative which you all have taken, and it's a wonderful subject. So high-rise building is the thing now for the future in Mumbai, because to consume 5 plus FSI, high-rise is the only way which we can consume this much big FSI, because MADA, SRA, everybody in the DCPR 2034, which came operative in November 2018, and huge FSIs have come in. So it's a challenge for all designing architects licensing architects to consume this much FSI because client wants to utilize each and every bit of the space available in particular plot. So, of course, there are MOEF restrictions, high-rise committee is there. So we will just dwell into all the aspects which are involved in the high-rise structures. So uh, uh, what is a high-rise building? See, as a layman, somebody may say, okay, even as far as CFO is concerned, they can consider below 32 meters as a low-rise building. So there are no stringent CFO provisions as such if the building is less than 32. Once it crosses 32, yes, they term it as a high-rise building. High-rise building for the purpose of obtaining CFO NOC, not the real high-rise building which we always thought of. So earlier, the high-rise committee was looking into the proposals which were more than 70 meters. Now, of course, that has been shifted to 120 meters. So up to 120 meters, you don't require a high-rise committee's appraisal and approval. However, the open spaces criteria they keep on changing from 70 meters onwards, and there are various different other provisions which we shall look into. And the height of the building, as you are aware, it is considered up to the terrace level. However, when you consider the civil aviation NOC, even the water tank and the lift machine room, and if any other elevation features are added on the terrace, those are also part of the civil aviation height consideration. However, when we talk about any height of the building, it is up to the top of terrace slab. So these are the parameters which we need to look into, which is access criteria. High-rise building will be importantly, these are the factors which we need to look into. First and foremost is the access criteria. Whether your plot is abutting to a particular width of road, then only you can construct that much height of a building. And then obviously when we enter the plot, the open space criteria will come into, which is for light and ventilation, and the CFO requirement, because to fight fire within the plot, fire engine needs to enter the property, and they want some basic criterias for the open spaces requirement, which is beyond light and ventilation requirement. And what are the other statutory requirements? And then is HRC requirements and MOF requirements. So these all issues which we are going to discuss in this part. So public means of access. So what is the public means of access required for any building? So every site to have an access free of encroachment, every site proposed to be developed or redeveloped shall have an access from public street or a road. Such access shall be kept free of encroachment. So whatever the width they are saying, mentioning in this table, that has to be free of encroachment, and it should meet at the particular junction with the other road. So there are three part to it. One is a high-rise building as per the table, whatever width of the road is required. And there is some leeway. If there are two roads which are minimum 6 meter, then also a high-rise building will be permitted up to a particular height. And if there are redevelopment proposal, particularly under 33(7), which is a CES structure, 33(7)(a) is a tenanted building in suburbs not covered under CES. 33(7)(b) is a cooperative housing society. 33(10) and 33(10)(a) both are slum redevelopment. So there is a leeway for those kind of proposals also. Now, high-rise building up to 32, between 32 and 70, you need to have a 9-meter road. If the road is 6, hello, sorry. Yeah, 32 to 70 meters, 9-meter road will be required. And if the building height goes between 70 to 120, minimum width of the road
Sir, sir, you are not audible.
Raisarya sir, you have to unmute yourself, sir. Hello, Parikshit.
Sir, I guess he has a network issue, so he's trying to change over.
No, but I'm looking at the participants thing, and there his name, his thing has got a. Okay, he's unmuted now.
Yeah.
Can you hear?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. We can.
Hello?
Yes,
So
we can hear
we'll
you.
just switch off the video so that the audio network is better, I feel.
Yes, sure. Yes, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you see the screen? Hello?
Yeah, we can.
Hello?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Yes, we can see this.
It's audible, right?
Yes,
Yes.
it's audible now.
Yeah. Yeah. So if there are lesser width of road, but if you have two roads abutting to your property, then even that height can be permissible up to 70 meters. So the criteria is if two 6-meter wide roads are there, no concession in front open space will be granted. Total front open space, including the width of the road, shall be minimum 9 meters, and 6-meter road shall be connected to road at least 9-meter wide road. So the two roads are there that has to meet the 9-meter road criteria, and if these two roads are 6-meter wide, the building height can be allowed up to 70 meters. So that table which we saw in the earlier slide, that will be relaxed if there are two roads. And the example is also on the right hand side. There are two roads here, also 6-meter road, and there also 6-meter. Ultimately, it is culminating into a 9-meter wide road. So up to 70-meter height of building can be permitted. Now, proposed redevelopment under 33(7), as we discussed in the redevelopment criteria, where 33(7) is the CES buildings in Island City, 33(7)A is tenanted buildings in suburbs and Island City also not covered under CES category, and 33(7)B will be for this cooperative housing society and the slum redevelopment. So building height up to 120 meters, road width can be 9 meters. In the other case, it was 12 meters. Here in all this redevelopment, they have relaxed, and on a 9-meter width of road, 120-meter can be proposed. And if you want to propose 120 meter, more than 120 meters, the road width has to be minimum 13 meters. In all other proposal, this criteria was 18 meters. So as we have written here, 33(7) and whatever the categories are there, it has been mentioned over here. Yeah, now we are moving on to the open space criteria. Open space is within the plot for high-rise buildings. So these are the front open space, side open space, and the rear open space. Two are side open space and one is the rear open space, front open space. So what are these open space requirement for? Front open space, of course, it is governed by other regulation where 4.5 meter is the constant front open space to be provided for any building, and the side open space and rear open space, they have been prescribed in the regulation number 41. So this will be the criteria for building height between 70 meters and 120 meter height of a building, where front open space will be 4.5 meters, light and ventilation will be h by 4 or 16 meters. So 16 meter is the maximum open space to be provided. If it is a lesser height, even h by 4 also you can propose. And whenever there is a dead wall, so at this junction, these are all 9 meters. This has to be light and ventilation, so it is 16 meters. This again at the corner, these are all 9-meter open space, and wherever we are taking light and ventilation, this will be 16 meters maximum open space required for a particular building. So even if you consider 1/4 of 120 meters, ideally it should be say 30 meters. However, the concession has been given, the maximum they have capped it to 16 meters and for a light and ventilation. So all these corners, wherever there is a dead wall, this will be 9 meters, and obviously front open space will be 4.5 meters. Now buildings having height more than 120 meters. So what are the criteria? So in that criteria, front open space remains constant. Light and ventilation, this becomes 20 meters instead of in the earlier case it was 16 meters. And that dead wall, this will be a 9-meter criteria. So this can be any height of building. Suppose if it is a 300-meter building, also h by 4 criteria will require 75-meter open space, but that much open space is not required to be provided. Maximum is 20 meters. That is what the open space criteria will be looked into for a building which is more than 120 meters. Now this is in a nutshell. Of course, 32 to 70 I had not shown that open spaces, but this is the table where even open space of h by 5 also is permitted, and with a minimum dead wall 6 meters and the maximum open space of 12 meters. In these between 70 and 120, 16 meter is the maximum open space, or h by 4, whichever is lesser, and this will be 20 meters for buildings all more than 120 meters. CFO requirements. Now CFO requirements is different than whatever light and ventilation criteria is. They require specific open spaces so that the fire engine can enter the property, and whenever in case of a fire, they can attend to the fire call and they can fight fire from this side. So this B is the open space where fire engine will be entering the property and they will be fighting fire from these open spaces. Of course, C and B, A, they can be any other open space, either h by 4 or h by 5. Maybe if you are wanting to propose lesser open space also, MCGM does allow by charging premium. So concessions are being granted for these two open spaces, particularly A and C as per the diagram, but B, they will not allow any leeway. That minimum open space has to be provided because it is a fire requirement, safety requirement. So for the height of building between 32 to 70 meters, any one side, that is A or B, must be 6 meters. So in this case, suppose we are providing a 6-meter open space for the fire engine to enter and fight fire, other open space that you can decide as per your planning. For building height more than 70 meters, if it is a rehab building, then one side 9-meter road, 9-meter open space needs to be provided. This leeway is given for only rehab building, but if it is a green building, there is no redevelopment, two-side 9-meter road is a must. So both the sides A and B will be 9 meters. In case of rehab, this can be 9 meters. This open space can be as per your planning. And the CFO, there will be no projections permitted in these open spaces. Not even the Chaja line also is permissible. Only the cantilevered portion of a refuge area which you can propose in these open spaces. Otherwise, the building has to have a open to sky open space. Now, whenever we propose podium, so what are the criteria? So for podium, as it is 9 meter is the open space required at the ground level, they will allow setback only up to 6 meters. That is because if this fire engine is here and if the tower for the rescue, they can go up to only 6 meters. That's why this 6-meter criteria has come in. Earlier, this was obviously at 3 meters, but 6-meter criteria so that you can have a driveway on the podium level on the top. That's why this 6 meters they have made the provisions. Even in this case also 6 meter leeway is given, but you can project by 1.5 meter outside. Even if this is a 9 meter open space at the ground level for a height above up to 4.5 meters, and from above to 4.5 meters you can propose 6 meter open space. So this you can encroach by 3 meters if, but at the ground level 9 meter is available, so that fire engine can be parked here, and they can have their supports and everything. Up to height of 4 meter there is a restriction, otherwise the building can come out. So podium cannot extend 6 meter beyond the building line for the fire engine staircase, fire engines and the hose reel to reach the building. In case of podium height of 4.5 meters from the compound wall, podium must be 9 meter clear, and above that 6 meter clear open space has to be provided. Now 47(1)(a) for the proposals under regulation, these are all redevelopment clauses. 33(5) is MHADA redevelopment, 33(6) is redevelopment for the dilapidated buildings. Again 33(7), 7(a), 33(9) is cluster, 9(a), then 9(b), and 33(10) and 33(10)(a). These are all for redevelopment. If you have two roads which are 6 meters, then you need not provide any side open space 6 meter. This C open space can be as per your planning. You can provide minimum 3.6 or 6 meters as per whatever the planning criteria permits you. Even here, if there is a junction, that means these properties also having two access roads. So here also front open space is enough. This 6 meter need not be provided, and these C and A open space can be as per your planning. Now internal staircase. So how a staircase has to be designed? If there are 4 flats of floor, 1, 2, 3, and 4, these are the passenger lifts, and the staircase area is here. This is abutting to the external open space. So this staircase is approvable with the ventilation shaft, because this ventilation lobby should also have an external ventilation. So this is approvable with 2 lifts and the staircase criteria, and this is not approvable because this does not have a ventilation to the lobby. Lift lobby does not have any ventilation here. That's why this is not approvable. However, in this case, there is a ventilation lobby. This staircase is not as in this case, and the external, it is inside, but it has a pressurization shaft, which is a 9 meter we have to provide. Internal stairways with pressurization shaft are allowed, but they won't be considered as a CFO staircase. What does it mean? When the building height goes above 70 meters, then we need to provide a second staircase. So once one of the staircase has to be on the external side, and otherwise the second staircase can be having a pressurization shaft, and which can be internal staircase. No open staircase for high-rise buildings. So this type of staircase is not approvable because it needs an enclosed staircase. This is the enclosed staircase with a door closer, so this remains always closed. So if there is a fire anywhere on this floor, this staircase is independent, and then evacuation can happen. But here, if there is a fire here or in this side of the flat, this staircase is not approvable. This is a C type of a staircase where lift is in the center and staircase is moving around everywhere. Of course, this can be permitted for a building less than 32 meters, but above 32 meters, this staircase is not approvable. We'll have to go for plan for this staircase only. Now, how you provide access to the basement? Because basement has to be cut off, because basement they consider it as a more prone to any fire or anything, because if the same staircase goes on the higher floor, if the same staircase goes on the higher floor, the entire staircase will be gutted in fire. So that's why the basement staircase access has to be separate. So in this case, this staircase is moving on the first floor like that, and this goes to the basement. So there has to be a wall constructed so that there is no aperture between the staircase going up and the staircase going to the basement. So where a building has a single staircase, it should terminate at the ground floor level, and the access to the basement shall be by a separate staircase. Or this is a solution. If you are unable to design in this fashion, of course, you can propose this is the main staircase and the staircase terminates here on the ground floor, and to the basement there is a separate staircase going down. So they are both bifurcated. So staircase leading from basement shall be staggered at ground floor level and then diverted to upper floors. This to basement does not continue to upper floors. So this staircase will be restricted up to the basement only. If you have one basement, two basement, or maybe three basements also, this staircase will go here, it will terminate here, and this staircase will start from the ground to the upper floor. Now, additional staircase. So there are norms for providing number of staircases. So up to 70 meters, the one staircase is permitted. Under what criteria they are allowing? Building height up to 70 meters, it shall be provided with two enclosed type staircases, each having width not less than 1.5 meters. However, if the floor area excluding staircase, lift and lift lobby area, the net area of the habitable area is less than 500 meters, then one staircase is no problem. You can propose it. If your staircase criteria is within the travel distance, whatever is specified, that is 11.25 from the dead end. So this is the dead end. This is less than 11.25, then also one staircase is allowable. And for a commercial building, if this is 15 meters, then also one staircase is no issue. But it doesn't meet this criteria. Suppose hypothetically this area is say 600 meters. So obviously one more staircase has to be proposed. And if it doesn't meet the travel distance criteria, then also additional staircase will come into the picture. Now, however, for the high-rise building above 70 meters, there will be two staircases of 2 meters. So that is a compulsion. There, even though the floor area is say 400 meters, this criteria won't work because the cutoff level is 70 meters only. And once you cross 70 meters, the second staircase has to be provided. Even though if the travel distance is maybe the second staircase is just here and there is hardly any travel distance and there are only 2 flats of floor, then also 2 staircase is compulsory. There is no leeway in that. So in both the criteria, once you cross 70 meters, second staircase will come into the picture, and the width of the staircase also will be 2 meters. There is one more criteria, which is the refuge area. The refuge area shall be preferably provided within building line at floor level. So ideally these all refuge areas has to be provided within the building line, and now they are not allowing the cantilever portion. Earlier they were allowing, but now they have restricted within the building area only, building line. In case of buildings height more than 32 meters, first refuge area shall be provided at 24 meters. So if this is a 32 meters, at 24 meters the first refuge area will have to be proposed. Thereafter the refuge area shall be provided at every 7th habitable floor. So 6 floors you can have a gap, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 floor we'll have to propose the refuge area. The refuge area shall be 4%. Now some leeway is given now. Earlier strictly they were adhering to 4% only. Now they are allowing up to 4%, between 4% to 4.25% of the habitable area it serves, and it will be free of FSI. But it cannot include staircase, lift and lift lobby area. It has to be just habitable area, and that we have to provide within this range. Then it will be permitted free of FSI. Hypothetically, if this area goes to 4.5, that 0.25%, because of the planning constraint, many a times it so happens that refuge area we are not able to consume within this 4.25. We have to propose 4.5 also. That 0.25 will have to be counted into FSI as such. For buildings having height up to 70 meters, refuge area can be provided as RCC cantilever projection at the alternate mid-landing level. So staircase mid-landing level also the refuge area can be proposed, but it will not be at a floor level. It will be at mid-landing level, free of FSI. Each refuge area at mid-landing shall be minimum width of 3 meters and minimum area of 10 square meters for residential building and 15 square meter for non-residential buildings. So this may not be within the building line, that you can propose outside. As in this diagram we have shown the cantilever portion. This is on the mid landing, and here you can propose the refuge area. In case of buildings up to 32 meters, the terrace floor shall be treated as refuge area. Suppose the building height is say only 32, which in CFO's terms it is a low rise building. So this terrace can be used as a refuge area. Now, in case of buildings more than 24 meters, at least 2 lifts are required. So what are the requirement for the lifts? So minimum 2 lifts shall be required in order to serve each dwelling unit. One of these lifts shall be fire lift, which shall be in conformity with fire safety regulation. It shall be ensured that at least one lift must serve access to the lowest level of basement and may also extend up to the terrace floor, except in areas where civil aviation and other restrictions operate. Now, this is the important addition which MCGM has done in this DCPR. The access to the terrace is given by the lift now. So that is also a choice of the architect, where he can take up the lift to the terrace and use it for recreation purpose. There can be gardening or yoga center or whatever open area terrace can be utilized when the access is allowed by the lift as such. Now, artificial ventilation. The bathroom, WC, staircase, storerooms, prayer rooms, these can be deriving ventilation by artificial ventilation shaft. So fire lifts, in case of buildings more than 24 meters, at least 2 lifts shall be provided in order to serve each dwelling unit. One of these lifts shall be fire lift. And about 30 meters, this ventilation shaft has to be 9 meters for the duct to be adequate. Now, statutory other requirements. Free and counted in FSI for high-rise buildings, podium car parking, basement design, stairway design, and parapet design. So these are all staircase deductions which are allowable free of FSI. However, by charging premium as per the ASR rate. ASR rate are ideally known as the ready reckoner rate. You have to pay 25% of the ready reckoner rate for whatever deduction you are proposing to claim. So these are the lift shafts. Obviously, these lift shafts will be allowed free of FSI. And if the building is between say 32 to 70 meters, this will be allowed 1.5 times the B2. So this is B2 is the total width of the lift shaft. So this will be allowed 1.5 times. So from center on both sides, this center line you have to draw, and total width of 1.52 will be allowed. Of course, these all will be overlapping because there are 3 lifts shown in this. So this will be the total extent of the deduction permitted. So this is the depth. So D is this, that is the depth of the lift. So into 1.5 times, that will be lift lobby. Even the lift lobby is larger, but this light blue color will be counted into FSI. The dark blue color, whatever is proposed here, that will be exempted from FSI computation. And this will be the smoke vent. Smoke vent also maximum they permit up to 1.5 meters, and this is 1.5 D. So whatever is the depth of the lift, that much is permitted as a free of FSI. So 1.5 meters into 1.5 meter, 1.5 times a D. So whatever, suppose this is 2.5 meters, 2.5 into 1.5, this will be the exemption. Plus the staircase as it is, whatever is the staircase area, including the external wall, because there is no room abutting to the staircase in this example. So this entire staircase will be free of FSI, and plus lobby will be permitted. So lobby we'll have to draw a center line from the door and 0.75 on both sides. This will be exempted, and this will be 1.5 times B3. B3 is the width of the flight. So this is say 1.5 meters. So 1.5 into 1.5, that will be 2.25 meters. This much exemption will be there. These all light blue colors, that that is the choice of the architect. He can restrict the corridor up to here, then maybe the exemptions can improve. If he wants to propose a larger width, then exemptions will be allowed to this extent only. Scenario 2, where there are lifts which are separate. So this is a lift which is single. Here it was a 3-lift example we had shown. Here there is a single lift. So this will be 1.5 times on center line of the lift, and this will be the exemption permitted. That this is similar to this example, and staircase also is the same. So more than 70 meters. Now here the staircase width criteria, this is 1.5 meters. Here also it is 1. However, the D, this becoming two times. In that example, it was 1.5 times for the buildings less than 70 meters. This will be 2 meters because the staircase width required for any building more than 70 meters is 2 meter flight width, and the 2 times the depth of the lift. So this will be 2D. So D say this is again 2.5 meters. So this can be 5 meters also. Of course, you can propose lesser width of the corridor. This is the maximum extent of exemption which one can claim whenever the lifts are proposed, and from the center, ideally both on 2 meters. This is the B of the total width of the lift. Here this will be 2 times B. So this much exemption will be permitted. Here also the exemption has increased because the depth into 2 times. In earlier example, it was 1.5 meters. From here also it will be 2 meters from either side, and total width will be 2 times B3. So say this is 2 meters, then this would be 4 meter exemption permitted. These are all similar examples with a separate setup of the lift portion. Now podium, how many podiums can be permitted, and what is the maximum extent of podiums we can propose for car parking? So podium can be permitted for plot edge measuring more than 1000 meter only. So if you have a lesser than 1000, podiums are not permitted. So obviously when we are talking of a high-rise building, most of the properties will be more than 1000 only. The podium provided with ramp may be permitted in 1 or more level, total height not exceeding 32 meters above ground level. So from ground level, this total height can be 32 only. You cannot propose more than 32. Of course, there will be a stilted portion above that, and then all the habitable floors will start. So these all can be accessible from a ramp, or this can be accessible by car lift also. So that is choice of the architect. What are the constraints? Ideally, the ramp is always better to propose because there is no dependency. But if you want to propose a car lift, that is also admissible. So clear distance of 3 meters need to be proposed from the boundary. So whenever we are proposing a podium, this open space has to be minimum 3 meters, and podium line should be maintained. Podiums with car lift. So if there is a car lift, minimum car lift is required, 2 car lift. Even though if you are proposing say 100 only, then also minimum 2 car lift criteria will come into the picture. And if you are proposing say 300 car park or part thereof, this one more car lift will come into the picture. And if you are proposing more than say 300, it is between 300 and 400, then even 4th car lift also will come into. So one additional car lift for every 100 car parks, and 2 car lifts up to first 200 car parks. Even though if it is a 50 car park building also, 2 car lift will be compulsory. Now this was the front open space which I spoke in the earlier slide. This minimum criteria is 3 meters front open space, and all around also minimum you have to propose 3 meter open space for the podium. So this can be for car park, and the building can be on this side. Here that 6 meter criteria won't work because here the building is flush. So maybe the designing criteria 3 side, the building will be touching to the podium. So one side you can have leeway because fire will not be fought from this side. Fire will be fought from only this side and the other 2 sides only. So that's why they will give you leverage for any extent of the basement on this side. Now basement, there are criterias. If you want to go for greater depth than 8.4 meters, regularly it 1.5 meter open space needs to be provided on all three sides, and the front side has to be minimum 3 meters. However, if the depth increases more than 8.4 meters, then the open space criteria will change. We'll have to propose at least 3-meter open space. So once you cross 8.4 meters, these open space criteria will double up, and we need to propose 3 meters on all the three sides. Front open space remains constant. Always free of FSI whenever basements are proposed, unless you utilize for any other particular offices or malls or anything. But for car parking, this will be always free of FSI. The basement may be constructed beyond the building line, provided there is a clear distance of 3 meters. Suppose now in this case, the building line is like this. So basement is extending beyond the building line, but there will be a open space criteria wherein 3-meter open space from the front open space for road and 1.5 meter road from the other edges. So these three open space can be 1.5 meter also. Then this open space will increase if the depth of the lift is increasing. Yeah, so basement in this example, the ventilation has to be natural ventilation. If you're providing, then minimum 0.9 meter plinth you have to propose, and maximum 1.2 meters. But ideally, this is not workable, and this has the issue of seepages or leakages also. That's why most of the designers, they prefer to make a bunker only, and it is totally flush and there is no ventilation. This will all be artificially ventilated, because this only works in the first basement. As it is, when you propose a second basement below this, you will have to depend on artificial lighting and ventilation. So that's why this option works for the building where there are multiple basements and it is flush, because this needs to be flush. That's why, because it is extending beyond the building line, and this will be a driveway for your cars and everything. So many a times these criteria doesn't work. So if you are proposing this type of a setup of a basement where it is flush to the ground and artificial lighting and ventilation is proposed, this is also permissible. Now, stairway for a building which is less than or equal to 70 meters, 1.5 meter width of the stairway is good enough. For a building which is more than 70 meters, 2-meter width is compulsory. Plus, there is a second staircase also involved. So second staircase primarily will be used for fire escape purpose, and you can propose any height of the building. It can be 300 meters, whatever, but 2 staircases will be compulsory, and subject to, obviously, those staircases are meeting the travel distance criteria. Normally, a residential building definitely will meet the criteria of the travel distance. So 2 staircases of 2 meters are more than enough. Now parapet also, they have some rule for the parapet. So if the building is, say, between 32 and 70 meters, the parapet wall can be increased up to 2 meters. Within the balcony portion. So parapet walls and handrails provided on the edges of the roof, terrace, balcony, etc. shall not be less than 1.5 meter from the finished floor level. Parapet wall having height more than 1.5 meter may be allowed on topmost common terrace level. So this is the parapet allowed for building up to 70 meters. Once it crosses 70 meters, this can have a 5 meter for elevation purpose with a slit, and 60% void and 40% will be solid. So these are all solid portion, and these slits are 60% which are voids. So architect can design a parapet to hide all the water tanks, lift machine rooms within this 5 meter criteria to enhance the beauty of the building. And this, of course, the voids should start above 1.3 meters. So from the terrace level, this has to be 1.3 meters. Otherwise, you can have aperture on the upper this thing. No, HRC requirement, essentials for the HRC requirement, that is high-rise committee. Now, high-rise committee basically is constituted with the professionals who are involved in specialized high-rise buildings only. So, which is chaired by the IS officer of the rank of principal secretary. Structural engineer is there from IIT or VJTI. Soil mechanics faculty is there from IIT or VJTI. And practicing registered structural engineer who has worked for more than 10 years, he is also part of the member. CFO is a ex officio because their NOC is required. So chief fire officer is part of the committee, and any other technical member, those who chairman deems fit to be appointed. And these all criterias will be basically for buildings which are crossing 120 meters. So below 120 meters, there is no high-rise criteria. Earlier, this was 70 meters, which in DCPR 2034 has been pushed to 120 meters height of the building. So there also the requirement of CFO compliance, services layout, these are the parameters which the committee will look into. So CFO requirement, services layout, staircase placements, and basement and ventilation cutouts. So these are the factors which CFO and the committee will look into, where this is a case study we have shown. Okay, there are multi-story towers here crossing 120 meters, and there are 5 buildings, and there is a commercial building and a mall here. However, the building is one. This whole building is entirely one, but there are two, in fact, 3 roads. This is a DP road. This is a DP road touching here, and there is a DP road here also. However, fire engine needs to move inside because there are five wings to that. There is not a single building. So this building has to be tackled if there is an emergency. So fire engine movement, we have to show how the fire engine is going to, suppose if it is entering here and from where it exit from here, or if it is entering from this side, how will it enter, and vice versa also. So this is the important criteria which fire department will look into if there is a high-rise building. And the compartmentalization, if there is a sprinkler proposed, this compartmentalization will be for 3000 meters. Otherwise, it will be 2000 meters. You have to provide a shower curtain here. So these all sections will be divided in these. The entire basement is divided into 10 parts. So these are all compartments where there will be independent staircase also. So and there is a fire. The purpose is whenever there is a driveway and suppose there is a fire in this zone, this should get cut off. The fire should not spread to other parts of the building, and it should be just restricted to first part. If there is a fire here, the alarm buzzer will start, and these all fire shower curtains will start activating, and the fire will be just controlled in this section only. It will not try to go in the other sections. So this is the purpose of compartmentalization. And if you can propose a wall also, so this can be a regular wall. Only in the driveway portion there will be a shower curtain will be proposed here. So whenever there is a fire, it will be doused here itself, and the sprinklers will be triggered off. So this all will be controlled by the fire protecting measures. So these are several zones proposed in a basement, and of course each zone has to have a staircase and which can go up to the main lobby. So these criteria needs to be looked into. Now this is the refuge area proposed. So if there are say 2 staircases, there are 10 flats proposed in around the building. Now, as I was talking about the travel distance, from this staircase to this staircase here, this should be within 60 meters criteria. So travel distance, once it is met with, this staircase is okay. And there are lifts proposed of course, this is considering the height of the building, because this particular building is a 57-storied building, and according to the load, this many lifts were required. And obviously the other purpose was to get all entire area of the lobby free of FSI. And here also they have given a FRD door, so that this will get cut off here in the lift lobby itself. So fire will not transfer to the staircase portion and all. And that is how the plannings are proposed. This is a refuge area, where the refuge area will be proposed on this floor. There are two entrances. Two flats are proposed for refuge purpose, and these were as per the calculation as we have shown in the other slide. These are travel distance for staircase in the basement. So radius of 30 meters. So these are the circle for 30 meters. So we have to see whether it is meeting all the requirement. Of course, there are some areas which are not approachable by this circle. However, this much they have a leeway, and here in this particular case, staircase is overlapping this 30 meters, but somewhere there are open areas. But if these areas are too large enough, maybe CFO department will ask you to provide one more staircase here. Otherwise, it is meeting all. If you see this circle's 30-meter criteria, it is meeting, and it doesn't have any blank portion larger than 2 to 3 meters area. And these staircases are basically for those zones only. Now, the important part is in the basement is the ventilation now. So if there are 2 basements or 3 basements, each basement should have 2.5% ventilation cutout. Now that means the third basement will have total ventilation cutout of 7.5 meters. 7.5%. That is the top basement. The lowest will be 2.5, the middle one will be 5%, and the top one will be 7.5. So these are the cutouts which we need to provide, because this will serve as a light and ventilation to the basement as such, because artificial all ventilation be shown, and the duct, this will, in case of fire, the smoke will not be within the basement area, and this will be going out of this cutout. So these are some of the areas which are shown as per the requirement. Now MOEF criteria. So MOEF criteria are applicable to plots, built up area having more than 20,000 square meter of built up area. Now this built up area is basically not FSI. This covers a non-FSI area, staircase, lift lobby, your clubhouse, basement area, podium area, refuge area, all those areas. That means a constructed area. So constructed area is this criteria. So 20,000 meters is the total constructed area, and most of the high-rise buildings will be covered by this criteria, because if at all it is crossing 120 meters, the building height has to be, habitable floors has to be minimum 34 to 35 floors, remaining will be podium. So definitely it will cross the 20,000 square meter criteria. So things MOEF, what are the criteria they look into? That is the tower component, that is the day lighting, how the day lighting is affected, CFO and the traffic movement, that is fire tender movement. Of course, this all criteria are looked into by the high-rise committee, particularly the CFO issue. However, the MOEF criteria are more stricter and more stringent. Debris and disaster management. This is also one of the factors which we need to take into consideration when we design a building. And ecological features, that is organic waste, solid STP, RWH, that is rainwater harvesting, solar energy, alternative energy component, RG as per DCPR, preferred on Mother Earth by MOEF, because the DCPR says one rule. However, when MOEF committee looks into, they looked into some different parameters. And parking component, they definitely look into the evacuation time and the circulation. So evacuation time cannot exceed a prescribed time limit, because in case of fire, all the vehicles needs to be evacuated in a prescribed time limit. That's why the circulation part is also important. So here, this is a shadow analysis, which I think all the students must have learned in 4th and 5th year, and how the building impacts the lighting and ventilation to the adjoining buildings, plus the window, if you are having adequate or not, or there are dark spots in your plan. So this plan which is shown here, which shows that this is adequately lighted. If you see, there are dark portions somewhere, but there are no black portion anywhere in this planning. So if it is facing the east west portion, you can see the lighting is much better. And when you go on the north side, the lighting will be definitely lesser. So this portion is north, this is east, and this is the west side. And suppose there are dark portions, so maybe committee will ask you to provide a full French window, and the window size they need to increase, or they may ask you to change the orientation of building, and particularly at different time. So this is at 9 o'clock, this is at 12 o'clock, this is evening 5 o'clock, and what is the shadow range? So the building, particularly in this case, this is the building. So whatever this is height of the building, all these buildings are far away. So it is not creating any impact of shadow on the adjoining buildings, and it is adequately ventilated. If you see this portion also in the 9 o'clock, maximum shadow is going up to here. However, it is not entering that property. So in the morning time, the shadow of the proposed building is falling on the slum area for the morning 8:45 to 9:30 a.m. During afternoon time, the shadow of the proposed building is falling on the recreation or amenity space. So that is also not objectionable. In the evening, the shadow of the proposed building is falling on so and so building. So the evening, this portion is there this evening, and this is the building. However, just touching the building, so it is not creating any impact. So these all criteria also the MOEF committee they look into. Suppose there is a toilet and it is a dark portion, they may ask you to increase the size of the window in the toilet, so that there will be proper light and ventilation to the toilet portion. Now, this is a case study where we have provided ultimately what are the criteria they will look into. So see, these are the drawings they need. Particularly, they want a plot boundary where the STP has to be marked, pump room has to be marked, DG set has to be marked, battery backup has to be shown, OWC organic waste at stilted portion, meter room has to be differently marked, domestic and flushing fire tank has to be shown. So this is RG area which is paved. This is green which is on Mother Earth, and amenity area which is to be handed over to MCGM, and all those STP meter room. These are the meter rooms, and some STPs are shown here. So these are the criteria which MOEF committee will look into, and section showing the total height of the building. And suppose there are cars, of course in DC regulation the scooters are not compulsory, it is optional. MOEF committee definitely wants some scooter parking needs to be provided. Ideally it has to be within 10 to 15%. In this case it is within the 10% criteria, so scooter has to be provided, and they particularly are very much conscious about how much car parking area you are proposing. So they don't want excess construction also to happen, because it is against the environment laws as such. So they want how much area you are going to provide per car parking. So 13.75 is the area for each car. Number of cars are there. This driveway also is there. So this is between 18 to 25. This, if you see, all these criteria are almost matching the requirement, except for the podium 2, because the car park has reduced and because the green garden is proposed. Otherwise, the criteria between 18 to 25, that is the constructed area per car. This is the criteria which normally they follow. Basement floor plan showing all the services. Here the services has to be shown wherever services are there is the STP marked here, and the staircases are there, the pump rooms will be there. So there are additional staircases going from basement to the ground floor. These all services has to be incorporated in the plan. These are all services at other levels where it is at ground floor, and these are all at podium levels. Solid waste management. So that is also become a very important criteria now, where we have to propose OWC at stilted portion. So these are all solid. Of course, this all calculation will be given by the MEP consultant, and according to those areas, we have to provide OWC area for calculation. The criteria for solid waste calculation is residential. They normally calculate 0.45 kg per day per person. So normally every flat it is 5%. It is a thumb rule which MCGM adopts for supplying water. So that is the criteria being adopted. So every flat will have 5%. 5% into 0.45. That is one flat will generate waste in a residential building. So out of that, biodegradable will be 60% of total waste, and non-biodegradable will be 40% of total waste. So that we need to make the provision in the OWC where this location has to be marked. Of course, this total cost and these are all MOEF criteria, because that much corpus the developer has to give it to the society so that they can have a running cost out of this. Sewerage generation and STP capacity. These all capacities are worked out by again the MEP consultants, and these are all STP areas which are to be provided. And now they want 40% of the area to be ventilated. That is, they require open to sky. So this is also one of the criteria which needs to be looked into. These are fire tanks. Normally, when we obtain CFO NOCs, they give the capacity of the tank in liters. So this is converted into the cubical content, and this is the fire tank. This is a domestic tank. This is the flushing water tank, and they have to be marked properly on the plan. And this can be proposed in the basement, and at different locations you can propose that. This is rainwater harvesting. Now rainwater harvesting level that is 2 to 4 meters. Size of water tank in this particular building we had provided 11 cubic meter. In wing B we had provided 38 cubic meter, and this is the size of the rainwater harvesting. So this is the criteria for runoff for the natural drainage. So in this particular example, month was calculated as July. Average rainfall is calculated. Rainy days are calculated, average peak rainfall is calculated, then the terrace area, which will be the runoff, total terrace area is calculated and placed here, and coefficient runoff is 0.9. So 0.9 water will be going in the soil. So runoff generation will be so much, and ultimately how much cubic meter of stormwater drain we need to provide. So these all criteria will decide what will be the size of the stormwater drain which you are going to propose inside your plot. And rainwater harvesting, wherever 2 water tanks are provided, so that it will collect 1 day water and which can be recyclable, which can be used for flushing purpose or gardening purpose or car washing or any other purpose. Now DG set, this DG set also is an alternate mode of supply of electricity. Suppose there is a failure, then DG set needs to be provided. So there will be uninterrupted power supply, particularly to the lifts, because lift and few electrical appliances within the flat. So this DG set can take care of it, and the common lighting, and they can be taken care. So here the important criteria is they see it how much dependency you are able to reduce on the electricity. So they ask to use LED in common areas, internal flat lighting, use of energy efficient water pumps, VFD lifts, and MBR type of STP and VFD. So here, by using all this methodology, they will use less energy, and they will be in this criteria we have shown. Total 19 plus 4, 23% we have reduced the capacity requirement. Earlier it was 30 lakh requirement. This was brought down to 25 lakh. So 5 lakh was reduced by using some of the measures where LED lights were provided, solar lighting was provided, and other criteria were considered into. So this is the important criteria because they always concentrate on how much energy efficient your building is. So how much dependency you are able to reduce. So minimum 15 to 25% if you are able to save, it is they will always prefer those criteria. And the other part is the landscape part. So landscape part also, the plantation, which type of plants you are going to provide. Native species they always prefer, require low maintenance. So whenever you are planting trees, it has to have a low maintenance trees so that it will survive for a longer time, and which will provide shade and create avenues also. So these all criteria, how many trees you are going to cut and how many you are going to replant those trees. So this also is one of the criteria which MOEF definitely looks into that. This is the fire tender movement. Of course, for the high-rise committee, it was a different criteria. Normally for MOEF criteria, they would prefer the fire engine to move all around the building, that is 6 meter open space. However, if you are proposing a podium or something, and if you are able to convince okay, 3 side open space are good enough because you have proposed refuge areas on the side where the fire engine is going to approach, so they may consider those leeway. So fire engine movement also has to be provided. So single driveway minimum 3.6 meters with a and double driveway of 6 meters. So this is the criteria they look into. And one more criteria is wherever your site is situated, this has a fire station has to be within 5 kilometers. If you are more than 5 kilometers, they may not approve your high-rise buildings. So this is what the criteria for MOEF they follow. But normally in Mumbai, within 5 kilometers, definitely the criteria meets into, because fire stations are spread in a large way in Mumbai. Now this is the swept path analysis. So where how the movement of the car is going to be there, how the movement is going to be provided. So whether there is a smooth movement and the evacuation can be faster. So here we have shown the average speed of vehicles will be say 20 kilometers, 5.6 meter per second. Average speed of vehicles, the space headway considered, time headway considered, and number of cars. So this is what the provision is, and the driveway width is 6 meters. So in case of dependency, if there is a stack car parking, 7.5 meter open space will have to be proposed. I mean, driveway will have to be proposed. So if it is a good maneuverability, these are all the important criteria for finalizing your basement movement as such. So in nutshell, this is the summary of our high-rise buildings. For first, we looked into the access criteria for high-rise buildings. Minimum width of road were 70 to 120 meters, 12 meter road, and more than 120 meter road. Minimum 18 meter road was is required to be proposed. And the open space criteria. So obviously the front open space remains the same, and the side open space will be 16 to 18 meters. So up to 70 meters, it will be 16 meters. Sorry, between 70 and 120, it will be 16 meters, and more than 120 meters, it will be 20 meter will be the maximum open space, and dead wall 9 meter open space will have to be proposed. CFO requirement. Refuge area of 4 to 4.25 percentage, and additional staircase area above 70 meters, additional staircase will have to be proposed. And statutory requirement, whatever we looked into, the what is counted or what is free of FSI, LOS provision as per the plot area, then basement, how we need to propose a basement, access how to be provided, and compartmentalization, how we will do it. Staircase travel distance will be in the upper building. The travel distance criteria is different. For a basement, the travel distance area is different. Podium, where 6 meter only you can set back your buildings, and 3 meter from side open space. And parking requirement, we saw how much podium we can propose. That was 32 meters height of the podium. And fire attendant movement we looked into. Basement compartmentalization, staircase to staircase distance we saw, and the MOEF requirement, that is Mother Earth. Now, Mother Earth criteria, MOEF always prefers that the entire RG has to be on Mother Earth. However, since now DCPR is allowing 60% on ground, out of which also 30% has to be on Mother Earth and 30% can be on basement, and the remaining 40% can go on podium, and entire RG also can go on podium. So nowadays, after the DCPR has come into force, MOEF authorities have started considering this criteria, and entire RG is being allowed on podium. So even if you don't propose on Mother Earth, that is allowable. However, with one covenant, that is 1.5 meter along the plot boundary, you will have to propose for a green space for plantation. That much criteria we need to provide. And traffic analysis we saw, daylight, how it is affecting the lighting and ventilation, and the shadow, how it is impacting the adjoining building and within your building, and swept path analysis, where how the car parking movement will be there, how fast the evacuation will be there for the cars in the basement or podium. That also will be looked into by the MOEF authorities. I think with this we are coming to an end.
Yes, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Any Vinit sir, you want to say?
It was wonderful, sir, to have this lecture given on a very graphical format, because many times these rules are written so legally correct, but many times it is becomes difficult to understand. And your presentation was wonderfully graphical, so that I guess all the people must have gathered immediately when you were saying everything in that lecture. We also have tried this kind of method in our 7th semester, where we have a architecture representative subject under which we normally deal with the DCR rules, where our faculty also has more or less created a kind of graphical portfolio of all those DCR possible. So we are in that quest of completing all those possible DCRs under graphical notations. They were able to complete 2 of those in these 2 years. I guess whatever is remaining, they will do that. But it was very much related, because our students and the faculty also was trying to do these DCRs in this manner, and that is the apt way to do this. So I guess Absolutely. It was wonderful listening to you, and the very special nuances of these things, because many times the small aspect which you as a practitioner can tell about where it applies, where it doesn't apply, because sometimes the rules are very generic in nature, but some certain kind of deviation which you know very correctly has been put forward to our faculty and students. I guess we will take a note of that, and definitely the people who into the practice will get help because of this. So it was wonderful to hear you. Thank you very much for having that kind of lecture for our students.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Any questions from the student? Any questions from the student?
Yes, Parikshit, that's what the sir's lecture was, quite kind of graphical.
Illustrative.
Yeah, illustrative. So I guess everybody must have understood the thing. So I believe that it has reached very correctly to all the students and the faculty. So it was great to have.
I'll share the PPT. I'll mail it to you.
Yeah,
so
that
please
do that.
If somebody wants for reference purpose, they can.
Of course. That would have been our request anyway. We would have asked to do that with your permission. But you have generously said that, which will be wonderful. Anyway. Thank you. Thank you for
So anyway, if somebody has any issues, they can mail it to me. I will answer them if
Yeah,
subsequently they
yeah.
crop
Like,
something
yeah,
after
I guess
studying
that,
the PPT. Yeah. So
yeah,
that
absolutely.
can be
Because
answered. No problem.
yeah, these interaction has to be not for one of the lecture as such, because they has to
Correct.
be more interactive and
Uh,
more
uh, un- unfortunately,
frequent in that.
unfortunately, we are having a virtual this thing. If it was in a class, it could have been more
Absolutely,
interactive. We could have taken
absolutely.
questions right there and there only.
Yes, yes,
Very true.
you're
Very
absolutely right on that. There's a kind of
Yeah,
constraint which is there at this point of time. I hope
yeah.
we should
But
be coming over of that and
yeah,
quickly get onto this physical mode where we interact in person,
yeah.
where it
So,
becomes
so, so what we can
better
do
in.
is okay, we can share the PowerPoint, and if they crop up with any queries, we can
Yes.
definitely answer on a mail also.
Yes, yes. And what we will do also, that our faculty who has already created some of the documents, graphical documents of this DCR, we wanted to present to you also. We will send
Yeah,
it to you,
yeah,
and we will want your expert comments where we can improve certain kind of things and how it can be better, or some of the
yeah.
kind of thing which have missed out in
Because
the recent
because
thing.
you rightly told the rules are to be read, but rules are to be implemented or something else.
Yes, 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 yes.
So, so
That's
the
what. So
practice is also important. Okay, what you have gone through and what is in
yes,
the mind of officers and the authorities, how they react to
absolutely,
a particular regulation and how they
absolutely.
implement it. So that is
Yes.
also an important part of the exercise. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, yes, sir. So it is gonna be a interactive thing. We will also bother you. I guess it is
yeah,
important you to bother you, because that is how we
no,
we all will get exposed
it will
and
be our
learn.
pleasure. It will be our
Yes,
pleasure. We always like to share knowledge, and I always feel that by sharing knowledge, you learn something on
yeah,
your own.
yeah.
So that is
That's
always
what
better.
our policy is. That's what our policy is, because I
Yeah.
guess more you
And
expose, more you communicate and talk and interact,
uh,
more you learn. And you never know.
I,
That's what we say,
I
that
was I,
we
I was
learn from the
speaking.
students also
Yeah.
many times.
So I was speaking to Anuja that there is no age for learning. So always we
Yeah, absolutely.
architect is always learning only.
Yes, yes,
very
yes.
And he has to be proactive because see 5 years before whatever we were in practice is maybe different now today, and maybe 5 years down the line there will be something else. So we have to keep on updating ourselves, and I mean we have to be with the times. I mean because now the safety criteria, even the flat buyers also are looking into lighting and ventilation portion. When the buildings are completed, they see their show flat, what is the size of the window now. So in old ages we were giving that 3 feet by 5 feet window. If you give that, no flats will be sold today.
true.
So that is as important as that thing, because people believe in natural light and ventilation, even though you have air conditioned homes, because people will definitely want a larger windows and all. So these are all important criteria which now public is also aware, people purchasers are also aware. They also want what they want, their needs are also defined, I mean.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Correct.
Gauri sir?
Gauri sir, I think
No, yeah, yeah. No, no, I'm there. I'm there. As usual, coming from the landscape architecture point of view,
Yeah, yeah.
where very
Yes, sir.
grounded. These
Yeah.
lectures take me to the sky. They help me to look at the limits that architects will be building
Yeah.
and achieving as time go by. But thank
Yeah.
you so much. It's important that rules and regulations and such kind of bylaws and such kind of points are put up to see that
Yeah.
it makes sense at all point of time. So
And
thank
sir, if you understand, laws are not that bad. If you try to say that, this is part of our curriculum. Okay, this is what we needed, because you can't have a design which is not going to fit in the code. The codes are
true.
also to be given
Address.
respect to that, because there are some criterias for which whatever the regulations have been made. Otherwise, tomorrow nobody will provide any garden only. Suppose hypothetically they would not have insisted on 25% garden, recreation garden. If you give option, there may be people who will not provide a single square inch of area
Very
also. So this is required for the future. See, today in this COVID time, that 25% garden has become our personal space, or so to say.
That's right.
Even the terraces have become our personal spaces. So this and now terraces, as government has made a new regulation, they are wanting it to be used as a. It should not be a dump yard. It should be a nice area which can be used for recreation purpose.
True,
So
true.
you can have nice meditation hall, meditation area, yoga center, or whatever you want. The other day, I mean, before 2 years, I had been to Sydney, where I was staying in some hotel. I could see on all terraces they were having that netting and they were playing tennis on the
Wow.
terrace. So it was so beautifully. See, there also Sydney also there is a space constraint, but they were using the terraces so beautifully well, and they were having box cricket also. Some were having tennis. Somebody was playing football. So, but it was netted, so ball will not go out of the building.
Wow.
It was netting was done. So that some sort of this thing also we will also have to adopt in our design, because the spaces are really constrained now in
True.
Mumbai and stuff.
Wonderful,
Very
wonderful. And I also am thankful to you to share your presentation with us. So at any given
Sure.
point of time, the students and faculty can access it at all points. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
yeah, absolutely. Thank you, sir. And if anything is there, please remember us. We will be always there for your college to do any work, whatever we are interested.
Great.
Thank you.
sure, sure. Thank you, Anuja ma'am. Also, I hope she is here.
Yeah, Anuja, thank you to Anuja also.
She has been a great
Thanks.
support and a backbone. She's always there. It's just
Absolutely.
it is not that she just arranges, but she makes sure that she's attending also till the end and making sure the things are going
She is
as
a
smooth
good
as possible.
designer.
Absolutely.
I have been working with her. She is a good designer, but she knows the code by heart, and she will never deviate, and she will try to fit in. So our life is she's making very easy for us to get the approvals done.
And I was
I guess
wondering
she
why Anuja was not helping me with our college building.
I guess
I'm trying very hard, but Anuja doesn't seem to be coming back on, to talk on. Okay, good. Okay.
Great. I think your college is doing wonderful under your leadership. You all great teamwork. So keep on doing the good work, and whatever best way we can contribute, please let us know.
Oh, one thing. I think Anuja is been muted by us. Parikshit, can you
I
unmute her?
Sorry.
Anuja,
Anuja wants to speak and she has been
but we
Okay.
have
unmuted.
muted her.
Acha, just a minute. I'll just check.
No wonder. I was wondering how Anuja was not
Okay, I've
coming.
been great listener till now.
There we go.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you
we
so
can
much
hear you.
for all the compliments and great session, Manoj bhai. Almost a decade
Thank you.
of a journey I had with Manoj bhai on various projects,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so much I have learned from him. Really, so
Oh
much I have
no.
learned from him. And that's what gives you the base that how you should read, how you should interpret, and that's where the whole credit goes to Manoj bhai. Till today, if there is any doubt, I will give him a call, and he will give me the appropriate answer with the logical interpretation, and that's what the most important part, where the logical interpretation is very important when you are interpreting the bylaws and the probability
Absolutely.
of getting certain approval done. So then you can talk to your developer, or you can make them understand in much matured way. So reading is most important in case of bylaws, whether it's MOF, it's high rise committee, and every little thing. And Gaurish, I must tell you that for
Very
IAS, you should call Manoj bhai, and he will guide us in a very
I know.
different way. The proposal is very complex, but he's hands-on with these proposal. He is into that area for past several years.
Very
So
true.
any area in Mumbai or outside Mumbai, if there is any doubt, we give a call to Manoj Bhai, and he's there, and his interpretation is going to help me, guide me,
Absolutely.
and it's a ray of hope and light always for me, and he'll give me a great solution. So IAS proposal we must discuss with him. That's what I'm trying to tell you, and that's how I got Manoj Bhai
Anytime.
over, and that's what my idea of pushing this ahead. Manoj Bhai is the source. So
Anytime.
let's discuss.
Anytime.
Right.
Anytime.
And we will
We will
just,
love to do it. See,
yeah.
every time we have worked in our profession, money is not important, but we should have work where we enjoy doing work. So that is most important. I mean.
Absolutely. Yeah. So Manoj Bhai, you are most welcome, and we are going to discuss me, Gaurish, and we'll take it ahead. And wonderful trustees around, and I have several interactions with them. And I'm missing those meetings, early morning meetings. Gaurish, I'm really missing them. I want to start them once again, coming back to the campus and
Inshallah, we'll do that. Inshallah, we'll do that.
having a brainstorming sessions with you and other consultants. So soon, I think very soon will happen.
I have heard a lot of things about IAS. So today, I think face to face, first time we have come. So great guys, you are doing wonderful job. Keep on doing the same thing, and wish you all the best.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone.
Chalo.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.